So that is Ariana Grande, My Hair live performance. Overall, like what we've seen from her is a very good mix that is based on head voice. So whenever she wants to make it powerful and deeper, she just powers it through her breath support with her breath instead of pulling chest up, like starting in chest and then pulling it up. She's instead like it's very connected with her head voice. So she's just powering head voice and then just getting that chest resonance, we could call it, which creates the mix. And I'm really inspired by her. If you don't know, um, I I pretty much sound like her. Let's get into it. Really excited. So first of all, we can see she's sitting down. So that's gonna be great.
Then I'ma give you some instructions that you can't be scared to try. I want you to touch it softly, like the way you do my mind. It got body and it's smooth to touch the same way as my skin.
So she's sometimes she has this thing when she wants to pull in more depth to her voice. She's lowering her larynx slightly. Could be adding slightly more twang. They're kind of connected along with the larynx in the back of the tongue. So I think she's lowering the back of her tongue and along with the larynx. And that's how she's creating these tiny stylistic choices. Like let's hear it again. There's some points where she makes it slightly more round and deeper, even though she's in slight placement. So let's
To touch it softly, like the way you do my mind. It got body and it's smooth to touch the same.
to touch. That was exactly that. And she's constantly doing. She has this in her voice, so she's adding twang to make the sound forward. But what twang does is it raises your larynx, so you have to lower your larynx. And she's sometimes lowering it more than what she baseline starts with. So her style involves a slight manipulation of it to create the stylistic choices. And before, like her earlier style, like a few years ago, she was, we could call it chestier. She wasn't lowering her larynx that much, and that's why her sound was a bit brighter because we all we could hear was the twang, and the larynx was not lowering. But now she's doing it, and that's what her voice is so good at.
Same way as my skin. Don't you be scared.
Okay, so that is a really low note for her. We could call it voice type. I think the lowest possibly she could go would be like a D or a possibly a C, but those would be really, really hard to do. So already E is already super tough. So when we get to the bottom of our range, it's really hard not to lower our larynx. And she doesn't do that. She's not lowering it. Although it sounds like she's lowering it, um, it sounds like that because she's actually still in her head voice. She doesn't add the twang that's needed to make the sound deep, which could possibly break into fry because it's already super low. I mean, yeah, we know she's a master, so didn't expect anything less.
To run your hands through my hair. Oh, baby, 'cause that's what it's there.
And we can hear there's slight distortion, and that happens when you're like fully relaxed, when you fully commit to the belt, and it's so good. Yeah, let's hear the chorus.
Come run your hands through my hair. Oh, baby, so don't you be scared. So come run your hands through my hair.
All right, so she is making this deeper on purpose by lowering the back of her tongue along with the larynx. And you can choose to not lower the back of the tongue with the larynx. That is a really hard disconnection to happen. Like it's really hard to learn to do that. For her, I bet it's a stylistic choice. You can do both a low larynx and a high back of tongue, and you're gonna get a different sound than what she's having. So it's definitely connected with the back of the tongue. lowering the larynx. And that's like the depth that we're getting. We're not getting depth from her like pushing more or anything like that. We got the support, we got nasal resonance, which is always there for her, twang, which is absolutely needed to make the chestiness. And the more twang we add, the chestier and the brighter we get. But she's now getting brighter. She's getting darker, and that depth is from the larynx.
So is there weight long overdue, just like these inches down my back? Usually don't let people touch it, but tonight you'll get a pass. To my dimes and spend my time to keep it real. Sometimes it strikes, but I don't care. Come run your hands through my hair.
She's so good. So she's having like she's already done a lot of note changes to the song, and as an Ariana Grande fan, Arianator, I think that she starts changing up songs when she's super comfortable with them, when she's practiced them a lot, and there's already so many note changes. Like she practiced so much this song that like she can be so free, like she can just choose whatever she wants to change up. That takes a lot of time. When she usually first sings songs like on stage live, the more she sings them, the more note changes she can do because she's more comfortable in the song. So she's doing a lot here. So I bet she practiced it a lot more than what she usually does, especially because for the whistles at the end.
Oh, baby, 'cause that's what it's like. Come run your hands through my hair. Oh, baby, so don't you be scared. Oh, yeah. Come run your hands through my hair.
So she's also sometimes slightly raising the larynx in the back of that song, and that's when we get this kind of sound in her voice.
Come run your hands through
When she said your hands, that was with a slightly higher back of tongue and a slightly higher larynx to create that kind of sound. But those are like super tiny stylistic choices. And you can hear it's not for the whole line, it's for two words. It's so crazy. Okay. All right. So, first of all, I know the whole singing world calls this whistle, but I want to make a statement that this is flageolet. This is why it sounds almost like falsetto. This is why we have the breathy quality to it. Some people might call flageolet a high falsetto or a high head voice, and it has a tiny break in the voice, but also when we do like pure whistle, it doesn't sound as beautiful. And Mariah Carey and Ariana Grande are both like not doing pure whistle. Like they're so good at their craft. They've made their whistle into flageolet, which means it's connected with the rest of their range. They are just going higher in their range and they're just getting it. They're not thinking about, oh, this is a different register. Let me just switch to something. No, they're just going up and down in their range. And if she goes lower, it's gonna connect with her usual voice. It's part of her voice. There's no break between that and her usual voice. So she's also made it breathy, and you can see how close the mic is to her. That is because flageolet is super quiet when it's most efficient. If it's not quiet, you're tensing up. You're not actually like relaxed. You have to be really relaxed for this. And to do words, that's absolutely crazy. Like you need very good support, and not just that, you can over support it and it's not going to come out. You need an exact amount of air in order to make this sound, but it has to be a constant air. Like it's so hard and tough to do. And she's saying words, and each word, each consonant, each vowel, they're changing the air that's going through. Like they might stop air, like the hair, like the H, that could that's kind of like a burst of air. So you need to accommodate for that, or else you're gonna break. To head voice. On these notes that she's doing, you can do both head voice and flageolet. The moment you make flageolet loud, you go into head voice. And that's how opera singers get these high notes in their head voice. First, it starts super tiny and squeaky, and then with time, you're able to relax it and even make it breathy. So, like I said, like that's not breathy, but that was my head voice. We could call it flageolet. It's borderline. Like I know how to be even tinier. And the first way to start practicing flageolet is with the tiny. Like imagine you're gonna whistle with your lips, but instead you use your folds and you just start and go up to the notes. And the thing is, still going to like the tops of your range in falsetto is gonna do the stretch that you need, and that stretch is very healthy for belting as well, like for the whole voice. And working on alleviating tension and supporting properly in these notes is very important because when we do flageolet super tiny and squeaky like a mouse, we have like minimum fold closure, like they're barely touching or they're not even touching. And that's when you have to be very precise. And that translates to all of our registers and it helps with every single register. And flageolet is not really talked about, but it's very important. Like if you have some damage, it's the first one to go. If you like the top notes are gonna go away. So it's a way to show vocal health as well. I just did it in head voice, but if I go higher in my head voice, I'm gonna meet a break. And that break is gonna be where my actual flageolet starts. And I can then work on it and then pull it down. And that's what I've done with my voice. So my break is at F sharp 6 or F6. And I've seen it in a lot of students, female students. It's pretty common. So that's where the break is. And after the break, it might start as pure whistle, but eventually you'll be able to blend it with your falsetto or head voice, call it whatever you want, and the break is going to disappear. But the thing is, if you're not well warmed up, for example, that's what happens for me, I still have the break. And even when I'm warmed up, I know how to purposefully induce it, which is what I'll show you. I've worked on bringing it lower and connecting with the rest of my range. So that's what she's doing. And it takes a lot of work. Flageolet is like a process, like working on it. And it takes a lot of patience and time. So you can even open for an oo vowel from who to oo. It could be a big change. Like I said, it needs very little air. So you can start with the fry. Ooh, like that. You have to keep the same amount of air as from the fry. Like fry needs very little air. So we need the exact same air for flageolet. That's how little air you need. Even if you try to do it, even if you don't succeed, it's all really good for your voice. Even if you don't get this high, just getting to the top of your range with this approach is already going to benefit you. And even if you can't like go as high as that, you have to keep working on it. And after months and possibly years, you could get what Ariana is doing and you could start improving it. My break is at F sharp 6. So I'm going to start in head voice and I'm going to go higher on the who, even if I'm not going to make it tiny. Like I hit a wall. So, and then I break a few notes higher to my flageolet. So you have to go after the break, which is and you have to bring it lower, but it happens really slowly, needs exact breath support, especially to say words in it, so that's even crazier. You have to start pulling it from high to low instead of the other way around, and you have to be fully relaxed in order for the break to happen. If you try to slam it, if you're trying to push it, it's not gonna work. You have to be totally relaxed and make sure you're supporting. You have to continue the support and then it's gonna continue extending into your just normal range, but it's really hard to bring it low, and she is doing it as well. So that's like even harder to do. If you haven't heard the original, I mean, I'm sure you have, but please hear it first because she is not going higher than E6 and the break is at F6. I'm not saying she has a break. Like the way she's approaching it means that she's pulled it down. But my theory is that she has started like practicing it with like falsetto head voice, not by actually going above the break, so that it's absolutely sure that she can perform it every single time. And right now, she's worked on it so long that it's already connected. This is just speculation. So she may have first started in order to be safe, like not going above F6, but right now she can. And she has chosen to do this, which at first she didn't choose, in my opinion, to do. So she's sticking with it because that's what she practiced, not going above F6 where the break happens. Yeah. Like you can already hear this. This is kind of the same thing. It's just lower. And this is, again, the flageolet approach that she does higher. It's connected with the rest of her range. Like I said, you can hear the air because that's just what it sounds like once you're super efficient and light and tiny and squeaky. You can sing in this high, like even in falsetto, your whole voice, your whole range is gonna benefit from singing at the heights of your range. And you have to focus on, like I said, relaxing that tension. I think that was a whistle again. They didn't show her. They didn't show her. I think she did another whistle there again. If you don't have the exact amount of right air, you're gonna break to your head voice. Wait, let me see the lyrics so I don't get them wrong. So if you do it in head voice, let me play it. It's really hard because you want to switch because it's more efficient and you just bring the high down. So like she's not going above E. She is a god. Yeah, this is great. Super good. And the words just beautiful. The song is awesome. Absolutely awesome. And she's changed up so many things.